Hey guys, it's Brian, and this next story up, talk about uncomfortable dinner. It might be my son sitting across from me. Wait till you find out. Let's jump in. I'm a 30-year-old male. I think my fiancé is 27 years old. She's a female. And her cousin is 34. She's a female. And I think her child is mine. Now, my fiancée, Sarah, and I have been together for 3 years. She's actually my first serious girlfriend since middle school. Now, I will honestly admit, I've been a complete piece of crap with women for most of my teens and 20s and pretty much used women. I'm saying all this to explain how promiscuous I was in the past. Now, Sarah knows about my past, so she's grown to accept it. We met at work, and she hated me because she saw right through me. And after pursuing her for close to a year, she finally agreed to date. Well, and the rest of the story is history. Now, we've been living together for 2 years now, and I've grown incredibly close to her parents too. And she also loves my family. So the past 3 years have been the best of my life, and I'm so excited to spend the rest of my life with her. Now, this weekend, her cousin and her family are in town. And she's really close to her cousin Lauren. It's a miracle that I haven't met her yet. I'm always busy for one reason or another the few times that she's visited in the last 3 years. So I finally met Lauren and her husband at dinner at Sarah's parents' place. She immediately stares at me a bit wide-eyed, and I can't help but think that she looks familiar. We're all being introduced to each other, and Lauren, for the most part, seems to be acting normally. But she's still staring at me whenever she can. Now, Sarah's parents then come in with Lauren's little boy who's 5 years old, and I'm looking at this kid and Lauren, and the only thing I can think of is this boy looks like a carbon copy of me at his age, with some Lauren mixed in. I'm suddenly starting to remember that I took Lauren home from a bar close to 6 years ago. And I also remember convincing her not to use protection after I showed her my blood work. I'm just a sweaty, nervous mess for the rest of dinner, and I think Lauren realizes from how she looked at me and the boy that maybe I realized too. And an even more crazy part is, I think Lauren was visiting Sarah the weekend I took her home. They probably had a girls' night out that weekend with her friends, and I took Lauren home. So Sarah was probably at the same bar that night. Sarah asked me if I was okay, and I just told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't go to work yesterday, and today I just took another sick day. I just don't know what the freak to do. Lauren obviously isn't saying anything, and I have no clue if she's married at that time and didn't want to ask Sarah because I didn't want her getting suspicious about me asking. I don't even know how I feel possibly about being a father. I'm 95% sure this kid is mine. Looked nothing like the husband. Do I just shut up? I never cheated on Sarah, obviously, but she knows how much of a player I was, and it took her a while to get past my number. I don't know how'd she react if she knows I knocked up her cousin years before knowing her. This is vain and superficial about Sarah, and I love her to death. But she absolutely hates if something is considered trashy or low class. I honestly think it's possible she'd leave me if I knocked up her cousin. I can't lose her. She literally is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Okay, guys, this next story up. A husband chooses his mom over his wife numerous times, and she gets tired of it. Let's jump into the details of this story. Hi, Stefan. Maybe you'll finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and I've left. Don't worry. I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you can understand. Now, I'm a 29-year-old female, and I've been married to my husband, who's 35 for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. Now, on paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace. She threw it out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry, she said. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcomed in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me. Literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of a 10. They were a 10 out of a 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but he can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentence. Like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional. As long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. Now, when I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future child care, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of his daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult. And I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. You see, if he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi! He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time? That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life, so I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. And am I the a-hole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years? Let his mother mistreat me and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Hey guys, it's Brian. Now this next story, I need your advice. I go by a certain nickname exclusively in school, even at our school newsletter, and my mom hates it and it's causing a problem. So let's get into the story and see if you can help us. Am I the a-hole for using my nickname exclusively in school, even in our school newsletter? My full name is Alexander. I'm a 16-year-old male, and I go by Lex. My mom hates it. She always calls me Alexander and has asked me to explain why I choose Lex over Alexander repeatedly to her. She has told me Lex sounds like you forget to finish what you're saying, and Lex is all that comes out. She told me it sounds like a girly name. She's even told me to stop saying I'm Lex because my name on my birth certificate and all my documents is Alexander. She told me Alexander is a handsome and sophisticated name, and I should be using nothing but that if I really need to. I could always use my middle name instead, she said. Mom is the only person who still calls me Alexander, and last year I was even given a student login with Lex instead of Alexander. Which is why this has become a big deal now. My school's back-to-school newsletter had a photo of me for a school club, and they called me Lex, last name in the newsletter. My mom freaked out about it. She told me she gave me the Alexander for a reason, and I should stop trying to discard the name she lovingly chose for me. She also told me I'm screwing myself because people take Alexander far more serious than they take Lex. She called and complained to the teacher in charge in the newsletter too, which was humiliating. I got berated all afternoon after the newsletter went out Tuesday. My mom told me I need to make it right and stop using Lex at school. Am I the a-hole? Oh, this next story is a juicy one. My wife is helping her best friend cheat on her husband. Is that cool? Let's get into the story. So the question is, am I the a-hole for being very upset that my wife is helping her friend cheat on her husband? You see, a while ago, my wife and her friend went on a weekend trip, which seemed fine. Turns out the friend didn't really want to go on the trip. She was meeting a guy, her best friend, her soulmate. Apparently, these two have been messaging each other for years. Now, my wife didn't know this, but obviously found out about it and told me. But she just ignored it because it wasn't our business, she said. We didn't tell the husband. It was weird. You know, what the freak kind of thing. Now, I don't know the husband at all. I barely know this friend. I was thinking, not my circus, not my monkeys. So here's the thing, though. The friend asked my wife to go on another trip and that she will pay probably about $3,000 for the sole purpose of cheating on her husband. Now, my wife was gleefully ecstatic about going on a free trip. She'll be the alibi for her friend's cheating. Now, am I the a-hole for being outraged, being betrayed, feeling that our marriage is a freaking joke and frankly wanted to end it? If her and the girls make such a farce of marriage and helping each other out and cover each other's cheating, what the freak is our marriage? I am seriously considering telling my wife that she can make her own decisions, but they have consequences. And when she returns from that freaking fest cheating weekend, the locks will be changed and the divorce papers will be pinned to the front door. Hey guys, it's Brian. Here we go again. Families that can't get along next up. Am I all right that I'm leaving my sister's wedding early after she called my career a hobby? Am I the a-hole? So I'm 26 years old. I'm a female. I just got back from my sister's wedding. She's 28. I'm still pretty upset about what happened. I'm hoping y'all can give me some perspective because right now I feel like crap. Let me give you some background. My sister Anna and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's the type A, always on top of everything, super successful one. You know those kind. While I've always been more laid back and kind of creative, I'm an artist, and I recently started my own small business selling my paintings and doing commissions. It's been slow, but it's starting to pick up, and I'm really proud of it. But my family, especially Anna, has always been a bit dismissive of my career choice. They don't get why I didn't go to the traditional route like she did. Anyway, fast forward to the wedding. The ceremony was beautiful, and I was honestly so happy for her. I even helped her out a lot with the planning. Even though I wasn't the maid of honor, that was her best friend, I was doing my best to be there for her because despite everything, she's my sister and I love her. Now, at the reception, I finally got a moment alone with Anna to congratulate her. I told her how amazing everything was, how happy I was for her and all that stuff, and she just smiles and says, "Thanks. I'm surprised you actually made it. I figured you'd be too busy with your little hobby business." I was stunned. Like, did she really just call my career a hobby? I kind of laughed it off and said, "It's not a hobby, it's my job." But she just shrugged and said, "Well, it's not a real job, but I'm glad you're having fun with it." I didn't know what to say, so I just walked away. I tried to enjoy the rest of the night, but honestly, I couldn't shake off what she said. It felt like she was belittling everything I've worked so hard for. So after dinner, I just decided to leave. I didn't say goodbye to her or anyone. I just grabbed my stuff and I left. Now, my mom is furious with me for ruining the night by leaving early, and Anna hasn't spoken to me since. My dad is trying to stay neutral, but he said I might be overreacting. I don't know. Maybe I did, but really hurt hearing her say that, especially on our wedding day when I was just trying to support her. Am I the a-hole for leaving the wedding early? Let me know.